Hey, welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're going to dig into something pretty huge. How do we actually know if an AI is, any good?
So you've definitely used an AI before, right? You ask it to write an email or maybe summarize some long article or just tell you a joke. And sometimes the answer is just, wow, amazing. But other times, yeah, not so much. So what's the secret? How do the folks building these large language models, these LLMs, actually measure their performance? How do they turn that not so much into, wow, that's amazing? Well, it all comes down to what researchers call their evaluation toolkit. And I want you to really think of it like a master carpenter's toolbox, right? You're not going to use a hammer to measure a piece of wood, and you're definitely not using a ruler to drive in a nail. It's the exact same idea with AI. You need a whole bunch of different tools for a bunch of different jobs. And that right there is the heart of what's called the LLM measurement problem. I mean, think about it. How do you evaluate a model that can write a poem 1 minute, then spit out code the next, and then help you with a scientific paper? It's not simple at all. There's no single test with a single score that tells you everything. It's this super complex process, and it needs a whole range of tools just to get the full picture. Okay, so let's crack open that toolkit and see what's inside. We'll start with the first tray, the automated tools. These are the instruments that give us the cold, hard numbers, the objective scores. They're what let us measure performance on a huge, massive scale. All right, first tool up is something called perplexity. It's a really foundational metric, and it basically measures how surprised, or, perplexed, a model is by a chunk of text. The idea is simple. If a model is really good at predicting the next word in a sentence, it's not very surprised. So a lower perplexity score is actually better. It means the model is more coherent, higher quality. But what about really specific jobs? Well, for that, you got to pull out the specialized tools. And that's where you see scores like blue and rouge. They actually work in a pretty similar way. They both compare what the AI spits out to a gold standard text written by a human. The main difference? Blue is the go-to for machine translation, while rouge is the champ for checking how well an AI summarizes text. And, of course, that toolkit is packed with all sorts of specialized instruments. Let's say we're using an AI to sort your email into important versus spam. For that, we'd use a super classic metric, accuracy. It's simple, right? It just tells you the percentage of emails it got right. It really hammers home the point. Different tasks need different yardsticks. Okay, but let's pause for a second. This is a really crucial question. Can all these automated, number-driven tools really capture everything that matters? I mean, can a score tell you if a response was truly helpful, or creative, or even just, polite? The numbers are absolutely essential, don't get me wrong, but they just don't tell the whole story. And that's what brings us to the next tray in our toolkit. These are the tools that depend on, us. Human intelligence. This is where we get into measuring all that tricky stuff. The nuance, the context, the real-world helpfulness that machines really struggle to measure by themselves. Yeah, as the research makes crystal clear, human evaluation is just invaluable. There is absolutely no substitute for having a real person read a response and judge it, based on how we actually talk and think. It gives you a depth of understanding that those automated scores, they just can't get close to. So what are these human raters looking for exactly? They're basically evaluating every response along 3 core lines. First, quality. Is the answer well written? Does it make sense? Second, helpfulness. Does it actually, help the user with what they asked? And third, and this is a big one, safety. Is the response appropriate and totally harmless? Okay, so we've measured the core language skills with our automated tools. We've checked for real-world helpfulness with human raters. Now it's time for the final phase. This is where we put the model through some serious stress tests and give it a final, rigorous safety inspection. So think of these things called benchmark suites as the Olympics for AI. Seriously, things like Glue, Superglue, and MLU, they're like standardized obstacle courses. They're packed with a huge range of tasks, designed to test pretty much everything, from basic language skills all the way to complex reasoning in subjects like history, law, even math. If an AI does well here, it's a great sign that it has really broad general-purpose smarts.
And that brings us to one last absolutely non-negotiable step, the safety inspection. This is critical. Specialized tools are used to scan for toxicity, to flag any harmful, rude, or offensive language. And other tools are designed specifically to evaluate bias, to check for unfair stereotypes or preferences. This final layer of testing is what helps make sure the AI we're building is actually a responsible one.
So, we've talked about automated scores, human ratings, big benchmark tests, and safety checks. That's a lot of tools. But you might be wondering, why does any of this matter to me? I'm just trying to get a good answer for my favorite AI app.
Well, it matters because, as we've seen, there's no single magic number that can tell you if an AI is good. It takes this whole collection of tools working together. You need the core language metrics, the task-specific scores, the accuracy checks, the detailed human ratings, those big benchmark tests, and, of course, the safety inspections. All 6 of these are needed to build a model that isn't just capable, but also genuinely helpful and safe.
Think about it. Every single time you get a really useful summary, or a perfectly harmless answer, or even a surprisingly creative idea from an AI, that's not an accident. It's because that model has been rigorously tested and improved using this whole combination of metrics. This entire evaluation process is what pushes the tech forward, making it more useful and more trustworthy for every single one of us. So, that leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. As these AI models get more and more powerful and become a bigger part of our daily lives, our ways of measuring them, our toolkit, is going to have to evolve right alongside them. The challenge of figuring out how to measure intelligence, whether it's artificial or our own, is a journey that, honestly, is just getting started.